Hello, everyone. We just give a couple of minutes for everyone to join our webinar. First of all, I would like to say, everyone, welcome to our open door workshop in partnership with Hubspot. Today, our two amazing speakers from Hubspot will share practical tips on how to navigate the job market successfully. But first of all, I'd like to introduce myself and give up a bit of context before we start. My name is Lydia. I'm a program coordinator at Open Doors, mostly supporting migrants, refugees to access employment, education, and entrepreneurship. At the Open Doors, we are also dedicated to support other underrepresented groups like people with disabilities, LGBTIQ+, travelers, and people with a criminal history. We do this by working with our supporting partners and members companies like HubSpot to deliver programs and events like this one day. Today. We also have other initiatives like our mentorship program, pre-employment training, and others. You can visit our website, www.opendoorsinitiative.ie, to learn more, or contact info@opendoorsinitiative.ie. Before we start, I would like also to remind everyone that this session is being recorded and we will share the recording with those who registered. If you would like to ask questions at any point, you can use the raise hand functions, or if you would like the questions be recorded, we will just make a pause of recording. You can also ask a question in writing by using the Q&A function in the chat. Speakers can dedicate to answer your questions as they come in, or later after the presentation when we'll have the time for questions. So without taking up any more of your time, I'll hand it over to Nadine and Innocent, our expert recruiters from HubSpot. Yours for that.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for that. So, hey, everyone, happy Wednesday. It's with great honor that we are here today discussing the Irish job market and what are some of the things to keep in mind while looking for a new job. So my name is Nadine Ribeiro. I'm a CS recruiter here at Hubspot for almost 2 years. I'm originally from Portugal, and I moved to Ireland 7 years ago with no idea on how to look for jobs, where to search, how to prepare for interviews, or even how to prepare for this weather, right? So my first job was a customer service role. And then within time, I completed a diploma in HR and recruitment in Dublin Business School. And that's where I made the decision to go into recruitment, actually. So what I have been most passionate about since I started in this area is really helping others to see their true potential and value, and providing my best advice on how to successfully get a job, which is exactly what me and Innocent will be talking about. Right, Innocent?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nadine. So my name is Innocent Matthew. Hey, everybody. So I've been a recruiter for about 1.5 years now with HubSpot. I recruit specifically for sales and representatives. So, and I suppose in terms of where I'm from, so I am South African. However, I did grow up in Zimbabwe. So if there's any South Africans or Zimbabweans out there, I greet you. Another thing to add as well is I've actually been here for the last 18 years. So I'm practically Irish now at this stage as well. And I can actually share the same story with Nadine. When I actually came to Ireland the first time, there was a blanket that they gave us on the planes, and I literally hogged onto it because all I had was nothing but a t-shirt. I assumed it would be as hot here, but I was definitely devastated when it wasn't. And my mother always reminds me of that because I'm pretty sure we still have the blanket somewhere. But yeah, look, I suppose in terms of what I am really passionate about is really about improving candidate experience. I really want to make sure that you all have the best eligible profile, and that you also really give the best interviews as well. Because believe it or not, from creating your CV all the way to giving a best interview, it is a skill set to have. Like you could be the top CEO of a company, and you might not be able to actually give a really, really good interview. So this is what we're here for, and I hope that you would really reap the benefits of this chat today.
Perfect. So today we are going to touch in a lot of good topics here. We'll let you know exactly where to start, what's the best place to find job opportunities, tips on how to expand your professional network, what a recruitment process actually looks like, We'll do a recap on the main tips as well, and we'll give you a few minutes for questions at the end. But before all that, you might be wondering, who do we actually work for? So Innocent, do you want to give them a quick overview of what HubSpot actually is?
Absolutely. So that is definitely one of the questions that we get asked quite a lot. Like, what is HubSpot and what does HubSpot actually do? So I have an acronym here. It's called CRM. So CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management Tool. So as the name suggests, CRM software is a system for managing your relationships with your customers. And really, our main goal is to help businesses to grow, right? And I know I've probably said all of this already, but you might still think, what exactly is a customer relationship management tool, and what exactly does it actually do, and why would this be of a benefit to myself? So I hear you loud and clear, and I've got you. So this is what I would like to share as more or less as a platform itself. So what I like to describe ourselves is we have a product that has a subset of products. So how I like to describe this is really using a fruit analogy. So we sell fruit, so to say, as an analogy, right? And within those fruits, we sell bananas, we sell apples, we sell oranges, we sell grapes, whatever fruit that you might be looking for, right? And what we try to do is we appeal to our customers based on the fruit that they actually like, or based on the fruit that they think would be beneficial for them. So that is exactly what the product we sell is. So let's just assume you're a company that really wants to strategize on your marketing campaigns. We have a product for that, and it's called Marketing Hub. And let's just say you're an upcoming company that really wants to work on improving your sales, right? We've got your back. So we've also got a product known as Sales Hub. So that is pretty much what we do. And if you can kind of notice the visual on the left there, it is really what we call our flywheel model. It's called the AED, which is an acronym for Attract, Engage, and Delight. And this is exactly what we try to do. We try to, have a conversation with our customers to make sure that we understand exactly what product that they want. So we begin by, acknowledging the fact that we are strangers. And then at some point, you will be a prospect that would be looking to basically wanting to have a conversation with you so we can understand exactly what product we think would be beneficial for yourself as well. And then at some point, we really want to make sure that you find yourselves as one of our customers. This is where you really get an opportunity to basically understand the product that you're using. And, if everything goes well, we want to make sure that you find yourself at any point becoming a promoter of HubSpot as well as the product, as well as your company as well, to the point where you're really promoting the platform that you've been using or utilizing with us as well. So I really hope I didn't lose you, but essentially, if there's anything you get out of this, is that we are a CRM platform, and we're basically a product that has a subset of products that could really ensure to help your business to grow better. So another HubSpot fact that I'd like to share, and so at any point, if I am looking to the left, please rest assured that I'm just looking at the presentation. So one of the things that I really like to share with you are some HubSpot facts and what we've really done over the years. And these are the statistics as of 2023. So as you can imagine, we actually have a huge number here, which is 167,000. And that is the number of global customers that we actually have in over 120 countries. And need I say more, we're still growing. And that's the thing that I really like about HubSpot. We do ensure that other companies grow better, but internally as well, what we're really looking to do is to grow better ourselves. So another big number that I'd like to share here is 7.4 thousand. And that is the number of employees that we have in about 11 global offices at the very, very moment. And then, of course, another slightly big number that is probably not as big in comparison is 475,000, and that is the amount of inbound professionals that we've actually trained and certified. And if you can believe it or not, you could be one of those inbound professionals yourself, where you could really utilize our training modules, and of course be in line to actually get some certifications as well. We have all this information on our website, so I do 100%, I do implore you to definitely take some time to look at it, and hopefully you can actually see some of our training modules that we do have. Some of them are really for free, if not all of them. So please look into it, and hopefully we can talk about you becoming an inbound professional and a trained and certified professional as well.
Perfect. That was such a great analogy there, Innocent. I think I'm going to use it with my grandma.
Nadine, I think we lost you.
Innocent, can you catch up with Nadine? Because I think we lost her.
Yeah.
about internet connection.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
No worries. So yeah, I can definitely continue here. So basically another point, I suppose, another strategy that we would like to be able to kind of show you is really where to start. So we've told you everything that is good about our company, right? And of course, what we would like to make sure is that you're also set up for success as well. So one of the things that we would like to acknowledge and where we would like to bring you is, let's just assume that you don't have a CV or you don't have a profile. We really want to make sure that you're set up for success from the very, very beginning. So where do you start? So one of the things that we acknowledge is really about how to write your CV. So a good CV will increase your chances of getting noticed by your recruiters and make sure that you get the job that you're looking for. So how do you write a CV? So these are the key things you definitely want to make sure that your CV has. You want to determine what role it will be that you're applying for. You want to also make sure that you have the most perfect layout when we're actually talking CVs. And you want to make sure that you have the right contact information. And we can definitely share that at some point when we're actually talking about our CVs as well. You want to make sure that you have the right personal information as well. And we'll explore that a little bit further because you'll be surprised the level of personal information that people include in their CVs that do not need to be there as well. And you want to also make sure that you have an up-to-date employment history. You have to write an up-to-date education, and that you've also included some of your languages, spoken languages. I can imagine, especially if you're coming from a different country, you have more than one language. You know, we have English, but you might be speaking another language. I myself am an English speaker and a Zulu speaker myself. So I think that it's definitely beneficial. And because I've actually included my languages in some of my CVs before, I've actually been reached out to by some recruiters, especially in the agency department, because of the niche of my language as well. And of course, what you want to make sure is that your CV has interesting hobbies and interests. You know, and this is honestly a give or take. You could either have it or you don't have it. It's not a make or break, but it is nice to kind of include that in there. So, you know, your employer or your potential employer knows exactly the type of person you are. If you like mountain climbing, for example, that might be an interesting topic of conversation that you could have with your potential employer as well. And of course, then another big thing, especially for CVs, is to make sure that you do include in your curriculum vitae that you have, that you have, you know, that you do have your, I suppose, your references upon request. I can see that Nadine is joining here. Nadine, are you with us?
I am. I'm so sorry. It's
No problem at all.
working remotely.
You're absolutely fine. So what I've actually done, Nadine, is that I've shared just the information on what a good CV will entail. So we can have a quick look at some of the CVs here, if that's okay with yourself. And then, you know, you can maybe talk a little bit around the CV that we've modulated. So we can talk about the template gallery first, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. Have you
Say that again.
went through all the details there? Have you
Yes,
went
I
through
have.
all the details already
I
there on
have,
the
yeah,
CV?
but I'm
Okay,
about to go
perfect.
into the template gallery now.
Okay, perfect. So just the ins of the layout and the contact information, everything, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm so sorry, everyone, just the beauty of working remotely, but thank God I have a partner like Innocent that quickly picks it up. But thank you so much, Innocent, on this one. So yeah, so sorry if I'm going to repeat myself here, but just going through the template gallery, I'm sure Innocent have told you if you have a Gmail account, you have access to this, which is great. And on the template galleries, if you scroll down, you can actually find some templates of CVs there. Which is handy because at least you have already the layout, the font size and everything already done, and you just need to input your information. So we did kind of went with one of this, but there was a few information that we found there was no need to have there and some extra information that we really wanted to add there. So I'm just gonna go through one resume there with you. So yeah, definitely the layout. As I was saying, we would recommend you use like 2 pages if possible. Then save it as a PDF with your first and last name as the file name, so it's easier to find. Use the font size around 14 to 16 for name and headlines, and size 12 for other text, and keep it simple. Feel free to bold relevant sections and use bullet points whenever it's necessary. So I'll start with the contact information. So here on the contact information is literally only the information on how we get in touch with you. And for that, all we need as recruiters is your name, phone number, and email address. We found that the templates actually had like a line for your home address, but that's your private information, so you don't need to share that. So anything like your home address, nationality, date of birth, photo, even any private information, we really don't need that. All we need is just your name, your email address, and I would just say phone number, and a good extra could be a LinkedIn profile if you have one, but nothing else is mandatory. Keep that in mind. Then what we've added here on the template was a profile summary. We feel that's really important as well, because this is right below your contact information, as essentially is a short summary, 3 or 4 sentences, of your experience, skills, and achievements, and how they make you a good fit for the role that you're applying for. So this is a good chance to add some buzzwords for the recruiters or whoever is seeing your CV there, such as analytical, organized, proactive, and that keywords that can really sell yourself in the first few minutes of reading your profile. Then we'll jump to the experience, so the employment history. So this is the most important part of your CV, right? Firstly, for each job, you want to add the company name and the location. And then underneath you add the job title, and then the start and finish dates. And as it shows the template, you'll put it the month and the year. And then you want to start with the most recent roles you had and work your way backwards. You'll need to add a line about the company and then use bullet points for your main responsibilities. I find that that's the easiest way a recruiter can go through your profile very quickly. Adding an extra line for achievements will also help you showcase your skills and experience, and always try to provide as much detail, but keeping it short and simple at the same time if you can. Then we'll go to education. So here, same as the previous section, start with your most recent education and work your way backwards again. You'll want to add the institution name, location, education title, and finish date. Then achievements here. Achievements is really good if you had like done projects during your school year, for example, or anything, certificates, for example, that you've done, you can add it all here. And then going into the language, it's very important because there's so multilingual roles here in Ireland. So you definitely want to use language as an advantage. So definitely add the language and add the level that you speak that language as well. And then on the hobbies, I do see this a lot. It's not mandatory, but it's a nice to have. And on reference, I would only add the line saying reference available upon request, as the companies would usually only need them when you finish the interview process, that they would ask them themselves as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nadine, for that. That was very detailed. So you might, you might have a question here for me and say, Innocent, Nadine, I already have my CV, okay? But one of the things I'm really thinking of doing is, or what I'm wondering is, where exactly can I find these job opportunities? Well, wonder no more, because we did actually have we have 4 examples of where you could actually find some of your job prospects or some of your roles that might be of an interest to you. And we've also included some additional benefits with each avenue that you might actually explore. So one of those avenues is really looking at job boards. So what are job boards? They're basically online platforms that you could actually upload your CVs or maybe upload your contact information, especially if you want to be found by recruitment agencies or in-house recruiters in general. So some of the most famous or some of the most well-known job boards in Ireland, namely LinkedIn. Everybody knows LinkedIn. And if you don't know LinkedIn, you're definitely about to know LinkedIn. Indeed is definitely one of the other platforms that has a whole list of jobs that you could definitely, locate. Monster.ie is also one of the options. And of course, you've also got Irish Jobs as well. And there's definitely more than what we've actually listed there as well. But again, this is really for you to create your profile, have recruiters find you, and also to be able to be in place to find connections as well. And then the second avenue that we really like for any, I suppose, especially if you're new into the country or you're new into your career path, I really strongly recommend that you look into speaking with recruitment agencies. So some of the recruitment agencies that I definitely worked with are the ones that I've actually listed above here. So you've got CPL, you've got Hayes, you've got Sigma, you've got Morgan McKinley, and you can locate these recruitment agencies again using LinkedIn. There are so many recruiters, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, so you know how to actually find these recruiters. And what you really need to do is just to say, hey, listen, I'm freshly in my new career, or I'm about to start my career in Ireland. Is there a chance maybe we can have a virtual coffee chat, or we can have a physical coffee chat, so we can talk a little bit about my profile, or talk a little bit about where I could actually find more avenues? And I guarantee you, recruitment agencies are really, really good for, giving you some of their time as well, so they can actually see if they can point you to the right direction. It's definitely something that I did. Nadine, you might share a similar story as well. But it's so interesting, as recruiters, we also rely on recruitment agencies, especially if we're actually looking for other jobs, externally as well. And then the third, I suppose, environment that you can look into, finding opportunities is the career company page. What I mean by this is that every single company, or nearly every single company that you'd be looking to apply for, would usually have a company career page. So for HubSpot, when we have a career page known as HubSpot Careers, if you're looking for Google, Google will also have a similar platform. If you're looking for Meta, and so on and so forth, right? So what the beneficial thing about having a company career page is that sometimes there might be a role that you're looking for, but unfortunately you can't actually find it at that time. So what do you do? So most, and honestly, with the way tech is rising at the moment, most of your company career pages will have an option for you to create an alert, so they can alert you when a new role does come across. So let's just say, for example, and I'm going to use a lot of sales references again, guys, because I'm a sales recruiter, but let's just assume that you want an account executive position. It isn't there at the moment, but it might come maybe in the near future. What you need to do is create an alert that basically tells the company, hey, I am a potential account executive. I'm looking for account executive roles. Please let me know via my email. And what will happen is that you will at some point get an email to say, hey, listen, we know you created this alert before. An account executive position has just come through. Is this something that you would like to apply for? Not in those exact same words, but you get the idea. So the fourth, I suppose, avenue that I would really like for everybody to be able to explore a lot more is the idea behind job fairs. I'm not sure if anybody has ever heard of a job fair or a career fair known as Grad Ireland, and there's so many other job fairs that do come across every single year. So I do recommend that you look into some career fairs that might come either in the RDS or the Dublin Convention Centre as well. And the benefits of actually having a job fair or going to a job fair is that you really will get an opportunity to basically have physical connections with people. There's two types of people that you're going to meet at a career fair. There are people that are like-minded to yourself. This will give you an opportunity to have peer networking. There might be somebody that says, hey, listen, are you looking for an account executive role? I'm doing the same as well. And I'll be sure to let you know if anything else, does come across. You might want to maybe connect on LinkedIn. You might want to connect on Facebook, whatever social media platform that you feel like will help you guys connect together. And just like that, you already have a connection. So that person will keep you in mind if a role does come up, and they might reach out to you and say, hey, listen, I haven't been finding anything. I wonder if there's anything that maybe you've explored from your side as well. So that is what we call peer networking. Then you can also get an opportunity to learn about various companies from the recruiters or from, any of the managers that might be present at that stage. Usually what would happen in a career fair is that you will get a huge amount of companies that want to represent their company in that fair. So I always recommend that you talk to any of the managers or any of the recruiters at that fair, because what they'll do is that they'll give you more inside information on either the roles that are about to come up, or what the plans of their companies are in the next couple of months, so you can understand and they will also give you information on the company as well, so you can understand better if this is a company maybe you might want to work with as well. And of course, the fifth avenue, which I've already mentioned initially, will be LinkedIn. So with Nadine coming up next, we will talk a little bit about how to expand your professional network. So Nadine, I will hand it over to yourself.
Perfect. I would love to go to a job fair with you. I feel that you would be the one presenting me to everyone. I'll be the shy person, like, I need a job, but I'm not sure. You'd be like, yeah, let's make connections. But for me, I do love making connections on LinkedIn. And I found this work while I was working on a recruitment agency, just like you said. It's so good to work with a recruitment agency because they have so many diverse roles. You can literally send your CV and they can find you a place, which is right. But yeah, I found that expanding your network, especially with LinkedIn, it's just so easy, and the connections you definitely need, especially in the job market as it is. You need to stand out, and this is a good way to do it. So expanding your network with LinkedIn will definitely increase your possibilities of chatting directly with someone from the company you're applying for. And LinkedIn can really be good for you in terms of like connecting with as many people as you can, follow company pages, check relevant events, get some tips on career counseling. And even if you're comfortable with it, you can create a good personal brand. And I say that because LinkedIn, and Innocent will just show you in a minute there, LinkedIn is like Facebook, basically, but used in a professional way. Obviously there's no funny videos on it, unfortunately. there's some funny videos, but not as much on Facebook. But still, it's a really good way to connect. So if you don't have LinkedIn, this is how it looks like when you log in. And basically, as you can see, Innocent just wrote there recruiter. So simple word of what we're looking for, right? So on the left, you can actually see where you can find this buzzword. Basically, you can find it on people, products, companies, jobs, posts, groups, events, courses, and more people, it says there. So what we want to do today is kind of show you how to navigate to actually find some recruiters. As Innocent told you, there's a benefit of speaking with someone in the company, having a chat with them, and just make sure you're in the right path and that they could also guide you in some way. So you write down the word recruiter, you click on people. So these are the filters. Everything on top, you can see it's the filter section. So you can filter by people. And the cool thing is that you can actually filter also by location. So here you can just literally choose Ireland, and then you can filter by current company. This is really good. So once you finish like your job seeking moment where you're applying for different jobs, different companies, you can come here, add all the companies, and we're just going to add HubSpot, for example, but you can add more, which is great. And then you'll see that there's loads of recruiters showing up there, right? And then on all filters, also, if you don't want to go by the company, you can go all filters. And the really cool filter that we have here would be industry. So if you're actually not sure, you haven't applied yet, you don't know which company you're going to apply, you can also go by industry and find recruiters in different companies that you might want to get in touch with. So yeah, so you can see the list there. It's 63 results for HubSpot in Ireland. You can find a way to speak with a recruiter through this filter. Or even if you don't want to search recruiter, but like Innocent was saying, if you want to apply for a role of an account executive, actually, I'm going to promote my role. So customer success, we'll do a little competition here. If you want to apply for that, you can just write customer success and you'll see people within this role. And it's always nice to have a chat with them and understand the day-to-day life in that role, exactly how did they got there. It's always valuable to learn from others. And this is a cool way you can do it. But yeah, Innocent, you're going to go into the more details of actually how can you talk with a recruiter in more specific?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nadine. So let's just assume that maybe you've been able to navigate the recruiters in Ireland. They work for HubSpot, and you want to make sure that maybe you're trying to talk to one of those recruiters. So there are a few things that when you want to work with a recruiter that you should check before initiating a phone call or before even having a phone call, right? So some of those things to check is what hiring department is that employee or is that recruiter actually recruiting for? How long have they been in the role as well? And this is really important because you want to make sure that maybe you're talking to somebody that has a little bit more tenure. So for example, if somebody's been a recruiter only for a month in that company, they might still be ramping up. They might still be in training. So they might not be able to kind of get back to you. Whereas if somebody maybe has been there for over 6 months, for example, they might be able to kind of yield a little bit more time into, you want to make sure that you're trying to control for somebody that could actually have the time to actually have a chat, a chance to speak with you as well. You also want to look at their activity log, and we'll talk a little bit in detail about this when I actually navigate into the page. And then with that in mind, you want to then connect with a personal note, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then once you've kind of initiated a personal note, then you can go about asking for a quick chat instead of sending your CV. And then another thing that I always recommend is that don't just rely on the one recruiter that works for HubSpot. Try and add at least 2 more. And this does increase your chances then of course, of being able to speak with said recruiter. So I'm going to navigate to my page. This is a shameless plug. And I just want to say I
You
didn't do
should go
this.
to my page.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
With that in mind, I didn't do this, so Nadine did. So as we kind of talked a little bit more about it, so you can already see off the bat, my name is Innocent Matthew. I'm an EMEA sales recruiter. So if you're a sales candidate and you're looking to have a chat with somebody in sales, you're already on the right track. Okay, so that's definitely some of the things that you've already looked at, and then of course what you really want to look at, as I've mentioned before, is the person's activity log. So you can clearly see what the activity is, and you can just scroll down here down to show all activity. And then what I normally try to do is I don't really look at all activity. I try to look at posts, right? Especially if I want to talk to a recruiter. Will give you an avenue and will let you know exactly kind of what I've done recently. So in the last 2 weeks, for example, I actually shared a position that we were looking for. We're currently looking for an inbound success coach manager, which is basically a sales development representative manager who happens to speak German, who also happens to need to have sales experience. And before that, I also shared a little video, kind of like a little promotional tool or a marketing tool that would basically illustrate exactly who we're looking for. And again, this is also similar to the inbound success coach manager that speaks German. So off the bat, if you're already seeing something like this, and maybe you saw a video here, this is how you could actually connect with a personal note. Hey, Innocent, how are you doing? My name is X, Y, and Z. I see that you've created an interesting video on this profile. I'm wondering if, I know you've already illustrated some of the points here. I'm just wondering maybe if you might have 2 minutes to have a quick chat about this position. I'm thinking I might be interested in actually exploring the position a little bit further, but I'd like, some key information on it before I actually, put out my CV. Would you have 2 minutes for us to chat? More so than often, what might happen or what may usually happen is somebody will say, hey, yes, of course, I'd like to have a chat. Or maybe let's if you'd like to maybe take 15 minutes, maybe you can book through my calendar. So that's kind of the overall idea behind connecting with a recruiter in that line in space. So this is before the call, right? So this is what you should be looking to do either during the call or after the call. So 2 things that you really, really need to do, especially if you've initiated a phone call, you want to make sure that you seek feedback after your first conversation or your interview with a recruiter. So check if there's anything that they find concerning about your profile, or if they've had any concerns with any of your answers during the interview as well. Find out if there's any areas that you want to improve on, or if there's something that you should focus on in your next interview as well. Okay, so another thing that I would also recommend is that you make sure to keep in touch with an interviewer during each interview stage as well, especially towards the final stage. Okay, so in HubSpot, what we normally do, especially if somebody's approaching the final stage, is that we will initiate a conversation to have a prep call with you. So if a recruiter does offer a prep call, take it. And I always recommend that you take it because you might get more information on what is expected of you in the final stage as well. If we don't offer any, prep call, please ask for it because it can only benefit you and it can only set you up for success as well. So another thing that I always kind of recommend here as well is asking what different hiring managers like, right? Different hiring managers like to see different things. Okay, so make sure you ask the recruiter how to prep accordingly with regards to that as well. So a manager might actually be numbers driven. So that would be something that I would say, this manager really wants to understand your numbers, or this manager is really focused on the culture of the company or on the culture of their team. So you would prep accordingly and make sure that you want to make sure that you're going to be either a good cultural fit or a good cultural add as well. So those are some of the points that I would really, strongly offer, especially if you're actually, looking to, initiate a conversation with a recruiter. There is one point that I did miss here, and that is really provide feedback for the interview for the recruiter as well. What I really like to see is somebody that says, "Hey, Innocent, I just talked to one of your manager. I thought that this interview was really, really good. Here's some of the key highlights that I felt like was beneficial, and here's some areas that I think would really improve your manager's interview process as well." It really shows that you were fully engaged in the interview, and you're also really, really interested in process improvement as well. It's not a must to do this, by the way, but I do really feel like it is quite advantageous, especially if you've keyed into the interviews and if you feel like this might help potential candidates in the future as well. So yes, with that in mind, Nadine, if you want to take it away.
Well, that's That's a lot of info right there. We're halfway through our session, so thank you everyone for staying in. We haven't lost anyone yet, which just myself at the beginning, but that's the other thing. But yeah, just pause for a minute there. I do see some people raising their hand. I would definitely ask you if you have a question to pop it on the Q&A, or we'll have time at the end definitely to go through all your questions and to have a chance to speak for sure. Actually, just on that, Innocent, just a quick question. What do you like to see when someone connects with you? Like, what's your go-to line? Like, I like to see dad jokes sometimes. People
Yeah.
start with a dad joke. Or even on my profile, I do say that I have like a little passion about marketing and baking. And
Yeah.
I had people send me recipes of like their favorite plates. And I was like, this is awesome. This is so original. And definitely wants to make you connect with people. So what's
Yeah.
your favorite line?
To be honest, yeah, I would consider myself quite a comedy person. So I think dad jokes really go a long way for sure. I think it's also really personable as well, you know, and the cornier the better, I always say. So yeah, absolutely. Like if you've got dad jokes, let's lead with that. But if you saw anything that you know you found interesting in anything I've posted, that's also really beneficial. It's not to kind of boost my ego or anything like that. I'm really just passionate about what people actually find insightful as well. I'm very big on insightful conversations, so I'm always looking to learn from people, as well as providing and learning of my own. So any of that would be brilliant.
Yeah, if you want to connect with Innocent, you just have to say, Innocent, you're the best recruiter out there. And you'll definitely get a conversation. So let's jump to the recruitment process, everyone. So on this one, I just really want to be clear here. So every company works different and every role can have a different interview process. But I will focus a little bit more here is about our HubSpot interview process. And I'll give you a few tips of what I've seen in the past with other companies as well, if that helps. Okay. So first step, right? And the recruiter will actually advertise their job first on the company page, like the career page that Innocent was talking about earlier, plus some job boards. And then we review all the applications that we get from there. And then recruiters can also use LinkedIn to source new candidates. So sourcing means we go out there and find people that are suitable for our role. So the same way you can find a recruiter using all those filters, the recruiter has actually a proper tool, a professional tool that goes into and can filter as well candidates that they're looking for. So we filter skills, we filter job titles, location, language. We can use all that as well to find people. And usually we send them a message. So we approach them ourselves and ask if they want to have a chat with us. And then the second step is the initial screening interview, or as we call it here at HubSpot, we call it recruiter phone interview. So usually it's a phone call. It's a very like 20 to 30 minutes phone call. Because I'm Portuguese, I do talk a lot. So my calls are like 40 minutes sometimes. But the purpose of this interview is to further access your experience and qualifications. You'll be asked questions about your work experience, main responsibilities, and what is your understanding of the role you've just applied? How will you be successful in this role? Even company and product knowledge is really important at this stage as well for you to show that knowledge. And there'll be a few behavioral questions that will be asked, and you might be asking what actually behavioral questions are. It's the usual, tell me about a time you had a difficult client and how did you manage it? So similar questions to that. Here is also a good opportunity for you to ask any questions you have. I know you can feel a little bit, okay, I shouldn't be asking the questions, the recruiter should be asking these questions, or even the interviewer should be the one asking questions, but you can definitely ask questions. And I feel that it's really important to be as transparent as we can. So I always try to answer any type of questions that the candidates have on a first call. And that includes salary budget, career progression, benefits, when would you like to hire this person? How big is the team? Any questions you definitely should feel comfortable of asking, because it's not only the recruiter that is looking for someone, you're also looking for a job and you want a place that you actually feel good about it. You want a job that you actually feel good about it. So ask any questions away. Then third step, I would say this is very specific to HubSpot. As I mentioned, I'll talk more specifically into the HubSpot process. We call it manager interview. So here the interview will focus on job-specific questions that requires the candidate to provide detailed answers and showcase their abilities to perform. In other companies, what I've seen that could happen is that it could be the manager of the team, or it can actually be someone in the team as well having this call. And they can also complete this call with a role play, assessment, or presentation. So coming back to what Innocent said, do ask away, like what's going to be the next step, who are you going to meet, what do they like, what are their focus, is there anything else that's going to happen on the next stage? Just feel free. I'm a really advocate, just ask the questions away. Don't leave the call thinking, oh, I should have asked that, or actually I don't know anything about this part. And then the last step, it's the final round. So again, very specific to HubSpot here, and now more specific to my role. So I hire for customer success, and usually our final round, it's 3 interviews on the same day. They are 30 minutes each, and each of them focus on like 2-3 top skills that are the main skills of the role itself. And you are mainly asked behavioral questions. Again, like I've said before, how to handle difficult client, how to work under pressure. Tell me about the time you identified a gap and improved it on your team, things like that. But what I've seen in other companies and actually other processes that I've been is that the final call is usually with HR, and they try to have questions more around on what value can you add to the company and the team, and understand if you are actually a fit. So again, it's good for you to ask on the first call exactly what's going to be the process, so you know exactly what to expect. Once all the interviews are done, and if you have been successful, you receive a call or an email offering you the role. And here they can ask for your reference and other information that they need to finalize your contract. And then a few interview tips that I give to all my candidates. So again, every company works different, and even every recruiter is different. For me, what I really like is to prepare my candidate as much as possible. So I always try to do an interview prep with them and give them tips on how to be successful. So like Innocent said, once again, just ask if you can do that. Like if they can give you a prep, if they can give you feedback, don't feel like uncomfortable on asking that. It's what will make you improve as well, right? So here's a few tips that I usually give to my candidates. So research about the company and the role. Definitely, this is a must. Like on a first call, you be assessed on this. And this is more to find like how interested are you in the company. It's not that you need to know everything about the company and everything about the product and should be able to explain. Every company has a training time for that exactly. So it's the company responsibility to train you and make you an expert on the product. We just want to see how quickly have you learned about the company and the product itself, and what actually interests you in this as well. So you can add like 1 or 2 things that you found really interesting about the company or the product. Then highlight your top skills that match the role when going through your experience. So this is a very cool hack here to really be successful on an interview. Go to the job spec and see what skills are they highlighting. And then when you're talking about your experience, you want to mention those keywords. So it could be account management, customer service, customer first, doing time management, being good at organizing your time, being good to handle it under pressure. So you want to kind of build a story around the job description as well. And as soon as they hear all these keywords, they're like, check, check, check. This is exactly what we're looking for. And then the STAR method. This is something that I found that in Ireland is super mandatory, and it really helps you with your examples. I know when I came here, I definitely didn't know anything about STAR method, and I only found out when I actually started working in recruitment. So this is definitely a good tip that I wish somebody told me before. That's probably why I failed some interviews as well. So use the STAR method, and you can definitely Google search this one, but basically the STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and results. So this STAR method actually helps you provide detailed examples with impactful results, and it structured your communication so well. I found that on my interviews, I was able to really provide a really good example from start to finish without kind of mumbling around it. That helps me with the next point, time your answers. So like in my head, the STAR method was a little bit complicated because I do feel like I have all my thoughts everywhere. So what I did to help me out was to write a few questions that I found on Google search, like typical job interview questions. I would write them down, write my answers, and then I would time them as well, just to see if they were within like 3 to 4 minutes, I would say. Just to give enough time as well for the interviewer to come with more questions. Remember, this is a conversation. It's not only you talking about yourself. You have to also leave time for the interviewer to ask more questions if they need. If you feel that there was an answer that you really wanted to give more information, but you're scared you're taking up time out of your interview, I would always recommend once you finish your answer to say, look, I can provide you more details if you want to, or was that clear enough for you? And they will be able to choose if they want to kind of go into more details or not. And then the last one, Again, I'm very good for questions, so make sure you ask the important questions to the interviewer. This is definitely your chance to get to know the company and the team a bit better, and also understand if this is the role for you. And I really like to say this to my candidates, it's not all in one hand. You are also looking for a job, you're looking for your best job, so put yourself first as well. Put, like, you have the value, you know what you're doing, so don't let just the interview control the whole thing. You also have control, and you should be applying for jobs that you actually passionate about. So definitely ask all the questions you need.
Amazing, Nadine. Thank you so
Ooh,
much. It is a mouthful, right? So I
it
hope we
is.
still have everybody. I was gauging Lydia to see if she's awake. So if she's awake, I'm sure everybody else is awake as well. So that's all good. But yeah, so look, timing your answers is definitely one of the biggest ones for me as well. Because I think when I was initially interviewing, my introduction was way too long. I think at some point it was like 10 minutes. So yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. So like, look, we completely acknowledge, look, it's definitely been quite a lot. And I know that there is a lot of information. So, rest assured, we should be able to send this across to you as well for your reference. But at this moment in time, we'd like to have a little bit of a recap. So we're going to recap just with a few tips and tricks that we'd like to kind of share with yourself. So I will definitely talk about some of the things that I feel like is really, really beneficial, either when you're creating your CV or maybe when you're interviewing for the first time as well. So the biggest top tip that I would like to share is definitely highlight your relevant skills. So this one is top tier. So if you note it down in your CV, it's really, really good to make sure that you put them. So as you can imagine, there's hardcore skills and there's also soft skills as well. I always make sure that I always, encourage anybody to focus on their hardcore skills, and then of course include your soft skills as well, as they will be secondarily beneficial. And then of course, as a second point for myself, I would always say prepare for all interviews in the same way. And what I really mean by that is that make sure there is a structure to the way you prepare for your interviews. So if you know that this is going to be a recruiter for an interview, for example, make sure that you read your job description. Make sure that you know that most of the questions will be coming from the job description that you might have read. If there's a manager for an interview, seek that feedback from a recruiter and say, hey, what should I be expecting for my next interviews? And make sure you prepare accordingly as well. Then a big one for me is make sure you definitely do your research on company reviews. I can't stress this one enough. Like one of the things I like to do, especially if I know I want to join a new company, is that I will do my research and I will make sure I go either on websites such as Fishbowl or maybe Glassdoor. And what this really does is that it gives me an understanding or an indication from employers or employees rather that work in that company. It gives me an understanding of what the actual culture of that company is, which is really, really good, because one of the feedback that I always get from candidates at the moment when they're applying for HubSpot, but like what I normally would ask is, why do you want to join HubSpot? And they say, well, listen, I've done my research, and one of the biggest things that does come across quite well is that you guys have a really, really interesting and lovely culture, and that really showcases that, you've done your homework, you know exactly what company you want to be involved with. You don't want to be in a company and find out 5 months into the company that actually, you know what, I don't really think I like this company, So I think that it is definitely beneficial to make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into, you understand the type of company that would be beneficial as well. And sometimes it's not that the company is a bad company, so to say. What might be beneficial is to understand that, does this company actually align with my own core beliefs as well? Does it align with what I believe in? Does it align with, if let's say, for example, where I've included all the products that I said we sell in HubSpot, do you see yourself selling those products? And you always have to think about that, can I see myself selling HubSpot to another individual? And if yes, then hey, listen, let's talk about it and let's see you join anytime soon. And then the last point that I would have here before I hand it over to Nadine is make sure that you keep track of all your applications. You'll be very surprised how, I've been in phone calls, or recruiters have reported that they've called candidates and candidates don't even know which recruiter is calling them. So it's definitely an interesting one to definitely keep in mind. Make sure you keep track of all your applications, and that you know who you want to be interviewing, or that you know who is going to be contacting you in the next couple of weeks as well. So that's me in a nutshell. Nadine, I will hand it over to you, and maybe you can talk through a few more tips and tricks for them.
Yeah, so we talked about this already, but again, these are the points that we really want you to get and this out of this session with. Research the company and the role. Again, we can't stress this enough. It's really important that you show some company knowledge, product knowledge, and that you know what you're applying for. Tweak your CV according to different roles. This is an interesting one because I remember when I was looking for jobs, I would like send my CV to every kind of department area, and it would be the same, not even changing a little bit. So for example, if you're sending a CV to Innocent, your summary, your profile summary probably will focus more on skills that they need for sales. If you're sending it for me, you probably want to focus on more consultative side and customer first side. So we're not saying to change the whole CV, but like the profile summary maybe, or even when you send in the connection, you can add it there. And then ask relevant questions again. Ask all the questions. And if someone says anything, you'd be like, oh, Nadine told me to ask all the questions right now. So you can pick up to her. And get yourself enough prep time for interviews. So I've seen people that like receive an email, oh, I'd love to chat with you, and they schedule the interview immediately on the same day. Just make sure you give yourself prep time. It's not the job is not gonna like move that quickly, you know. If they send you an email that they want to have a chat with you, you definitely have to at least have like 48 hours to book it in, I would say. And then even between interviews, if you're interviewing for X company and Y company, just make sure they are not on top of each other, so you don't confuse yourself as well, and you're not giving like same answers or confusing your answers between both interviews. So just have like a little time and just prepare yourself really well for them. I just noticed, Innocent, actually, that we didn't touch on cover letter. I feel that's because we feel cover letters are not mandatory, but we actually didn't add anything there. Maybe people are asking, should we do it? Should we not do it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, in our opinion, definitely, especially for career transactions, like if you're looking for a completely different role, cover letters definitely help. I would say it's not mandatory, but it's a good to have. And I think we should have touched on this, but we'll probably send you some more info on this one so you know a little bit more. We only have 9 minutes left, so we're just gonna leave that for questions. And I really apologize, everyone. It's just because for us, like we go straight to the CV, and we try to learn the story of this person through LinkedIn and the CV as well. So yeah, cover letter was we missed it out on that one. So sorry.
No problem at all. Thank you so much. So we do have some questions here as well. I'm just looking at the Q&A. Thank you so much, Alina Ehrmans. We really love that. We love that you love HubSpot. We love HubSpot too. So thank you so much for that. We have a question from Alexandra Sira. She said, can we connect with you on LinkedIn? The answer is 100% yes. Feel free to do so, no problem. That's amazing. And then Tatiana said, thank you for all the tips. I've already sent my request to, oh, brilliant. So Tatiana's already ahead of the game. So that's amazing. Brilliant. So there is a question here from Tambudzai Rukara. Maybe Nadine, you might know this more than I do. Do you recruit for finance people? Being new in Ireland, I am struggling. Any insights on that?
Yeah, so we do have finance roles at HubSpot for sure. And like Innocent said, you're probably going to find a little bit more about that on our careers page, and you can create the alerts for that specific department. In terms of what I've seen in the past, and because I work in an agency, I feel there's some agencies that are really good in the finance world. Even the one that I worked before, I don't even know if I could say this, but well, you can see it on my LinkedIn anyway. So Harvey Nash, it's really good on that banking side of things and finance. So they definitely always have roles, junior roles, senior roles, mid-level. So I would kind of like Google finance recruitment agencies, and you're probably going to get loads. And you try to speak with someone inside, try to get there in the company, email, maybe send the email, or even give a call, or even on LinkedIn, and they would kind of help you out with that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I echo the same as well for Nadine. So definitely useful to have as an information there. And then we've got a comment here from Victoria Verastro. So it said, lovely speakers, useful information. Thank you so much, Nadine. So, and thank you, Lydia, as well for coordination. So thank you so much, Victoria. We really appreciate that.
We made it.
We made it. Then there's a question here from Natalie Izumska. So what questions should I ask in an interview? Ooh, this one is a very spicy one. I can take this one. So what I would recommend, Natalie, is that make sure the question that you're asking hasn't already been, included in the job description, because that's actually where a lot of people actually trip up. So usually, if you ask a question that's already in a job description, as a recruiter, it would make me wonder if, if you've actually taken the time to, read the job description, or if you, and it's not to kind of trip you up, it's that it does actually happen as well. And like even if as recruiters, we might not pick it up, managers definitely do. And they would really love to kind of understand, okay, what exactly does the individual actually know about the, the job description, or what do they know about the company itself, or what do they know about the position? Good questions to ask, honestly. Like, you can honestly, even though I've said that, you can more or less ask any question that you might like, or you might even say, hey, listen, I saw that, you said X, Y, and Z in the job description. I just want to know how true this is, or I just want to know if there's anything more that, you haven't included in the job description that I should know about the role. And I think that this really kind of gives the ownership back to us as recruiters. So I can say, well, what you couldn't see in the job description is that we also do X, Y, and Z, and this is what this role actually covers as well. So make sure you're kind of timing your questions like that. But the amount of questions that you can actually ask are limitless. You can
Yeah.
talk about anything. So I don't know, Nadine, would you maybe like to add a little bit more to that as well?
Yeah, on that, like, again, yeah, definitely not only on the job spec, but for example, their profile. So asking someone how long they've been with the company, it's something, obviously, if you don't have LinkedIn for some reason, it's okay. But if you do have LinkedIn, it's something that you can quickly search, because you'll see the name of the person you're going to get to maybe. And if you do have all that information, you can do a quick search on their profile and see how long they've been in the company. And I feel that at least managers, I think they are used to the questions like, oh, what do you like the most about working there? And how long you've been in the company, and what's your recommendation. So I would always challenge my candidates to go with more challenging questions about the business. Like, what does the business look like at the moment? What's your 3 years plan for your team? What has been the biggest challenge of your team right now? What's the biggest challenge of someone coming into your team? Why are you looking for this new hire? Is it new hire? Is the backfill? What are you looking to do? Is it because there's more capacity? What are the targets, and how achievable are those targets? Like, what's your top performer? What makes them the top performer? So I always like to go for the challenging questions, I would say, because they are kind of used to by now to the normal day to day. On the recruiter, like the first call, I would definitely ask all those questions, like what do they like about the company and everything, because at least you have some sense of it on the first impression. But then the more you move forward through the pipeline, I would just bring more challenging questions there. Then we have just a comment there. Nadine's LinkedIn requires her email to connect. Can we have her email? I have some recipes I have to send her. This is great. I'm gonna get those recipes. Yeah, so my LinkedIn, I don't know, it blocks my connections for some reason. I don't know if it's like too many requests. I'm popular. No, I'm just messing. But I don't know, like the LinkedIn just switched up for my email. I don't know why, but you can still follow and you can still message me, I think. But I'll try to change it again today and see if you can get that, because I definitely need those recipes. And there's someone raising their hand as well. I just don't want to ignore. I don't know if you wrote a question. Can we give some voice to this person? Can we?
Oh,
Do we do it?
Yeah. I allow to you have an ability to speak. Tobil Simango, you have a raised hand. You can speak if you would like to ask a question.
Okay, we'll go through the questions very quickly there.
Okay.
Innocent, what ATS are you using at HubSpot? This is a
yes.
good question.
Yeah, it's very good because we've got like variations of ATSs, but for just to kind of make it simple, we use an acquisition talent system known as Greenhouse. So that would be our main acquisition but we also have separate ones that we kind of use. Obviously, we use LinkedIn Recruiter, which is separate to the LinkedIn that you have, but a major one would be Greenhouse.
And one thing that I want to clarify on this one, just because till I got actually here to HubSpot, I didn't know. So ATS doesn't mean that everything is like your emails you get is automatic. We actually review them manually. So if we get like 150 applications, we definitely get in through it. So yeah, just to clarify that part, it doesn't do it for us in that sense. We like to see all the CVs.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for some practical tips and tricks, especially knowing more how to use LinkedIn for network. Many takeaways.
Yeah, so we do have 1 minute, I think, for just one more question.
Okay.
And then if any questions that we haven't answered, everyone will definitely get Lydia to kind of create it and formulate them for us so we can be able to maybe answer them via email, and hopefully they can be sent back to you as well. Okay.
Yes, sure.
So an anonymous attendee did say, how do I identify good and caring companies' culture? Very bad experiences. It's a very good question. So I think this is why I actually recommended, looking into company reviews either via Glassdoor or maybe Fishbowl, because you will be getting, advice from actual employees of an actual company, and they will tell you kind of like what their experience is. I always recommend that make sure that you take everything with a pinch of salt as well, because it could be one specific individual that had a negative experience versus the 99. So I would obviously recommend you look at statistics as well that help you understand what the overall culture is as well. So hopefully that does steer you towards the right direction. Yep, I think that's it for time. Any thoughts, Lydia, or anything?
Yeah, I just one more question, the last, I think so. I have decided to change my career from teaching to data analyst. Could you give me some piece of advice how to introduce this in my CV? Because, a lot of people try to work in other fields, for example, all of asylum seekers or refugees or migrants, they just would like to change their careers because they are in different countries in different conditions. Can you give some tips or advice how to present it correctly in their CV? Do they need to write these unrelevant experience?
Ooh, good question.
I wouldn't say it's unrelevant. Like, I think all your experience is relevant. It tells your whole story, and I think that's what people are looking for. Myself, I did change careers as well. Like I said, I started in customer service and then moved into recruitment. But what you can see, what I tried to see in both was the transferable skills. And I think this is where you want to focus on when you're changing your career and you're presenting yourself. So what I've done was, obviously I still had my CV with customer service only experience. I did add any education I had extra regarding recruitment. And then on the profile summary, I started with, I'm looking to change careers to recruitment. And this is why. And then I put all the skills that I had. These are the transferable skills that I feel that I got from customer service that will definitely be used in recruitment. So I started with, handling people, dealing with people, understanding what they really want, understanding their needs, active listening skills, soft skills. And then the fact that I knew a lot about customer service, I could start recruiting for customer service because I know what people are looking for. I was in there, I was in the spot. So I know exactly what they're looking for and what type of company they're looking for. So it'll be easier for me to find these people. So I tried to find like how they connect. And I would send the cover letter and the profile summary.
Yeah, I also I echo that as well. And I think like Nadine said initially, this is where your cover letter becomes king. And this is because the cover letter will give you options to do a few things. So the first thing will be to note your transferable skills in there. It's also acknowledge that, hey, I am a teacher and I'm looking to be in data analytics. And then, of course, once you've actually mentioned that as well, you can then follow up with saying, I've actually studied data analytics since then. Maybe I did it privately or maybe I did it separately while I was teaching. Or you can just say, also, I've done some certifications in X, Y, and Z environment as well. So while I know that my CV doesn't notably have data analytics experience, this is actually what I've done in order to make sure that I'm prepared for success if I am to be offered a data analytics position from yourself as a company. So I think that that's where including a cover letter would 100% be beneficial then.
And teaching and data analytics, I think they have loads of transferable skills. Like if you're teaching, you know how to explain people a complex thing in a simple way. And I feel that data analytics is also a little bit about that. You definitely have attention to detail. You learn quickly. You adapt very fast. So just try to look for those transferable skills and definitely get out there and speak with the right people as well. Connect, expand your network. That's what at least helped me find a job in recruitment. Just get out of my network and actually look for people that were in this area and how they could help me.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. I saw that there is a lot of questions, but I propose all participants send it to me. I will sort it and transfer it to you guys. Thank you very much. You are absolutely amazing. Thanks a lot of your tips and a lot of information. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having us. We
Thank
really
you,
appreciate
everyone. We appreciate it.
Take it easy, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.
All the best, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.